seen one McLaren go out. What about Mika Hakkinen? Can he keep going?
Good question, Murray. That was the big question on everybody's lips this weekend at the Monaco Grand Prix. Can they stay in there? Who will win? Will it be the person on pole? Probably. And who knows? Will anything interesting happen in the race? Probably. Not on track, though. Over to you, Fabio. What did you think? Monaco.
I'm so happy. Well, I consider Monaco to be the annual tax that we have got to pay. I'm so glad it's over. So
the annual tax. That is a very good way of putting it.
Yeah, it's wow.
I mean I love the circuit. You know, I've been driving racing games for many years now, and Monaco is one of those ones where everybody had to play it. You know, you had to drive. If you were in a driving game, it was probably Monaco that they were giving to you first. It was one of the free tracks, you know what I mean? Or it was one of the only 2 tracks that you could play. So everybody did Monaco.
The qualifying are brilliant.
Say again?
I love watching the qualifying in Monaco. That's it. I think the qualifying in Monaco are among the 2 or 3 best things in the season, in the F1 season ever, and the race is probably the first most boring thing in the F1 season. So it's really weird, but
yeah, completely the opposite way around to normal.
Right.
I see where you're going with this. I mean, talking of the race, of course, it was a stunning drive by our young Australian friend, Ricciardo, the redemptionist. And I will kill myself if anybody says redemption any more times during that fucking thing. That was pissing me off. It's not how Formula One works. But it goes to show the point we were making last hangout, Fabio, which was, the tyres are playing too big a role right now. If you can drop off 2.5 seconds a lap or 160 bhp, if you can drop that out of your car and not even have the person get close to you, right? I think that's saying something about the tyres. What do you think?
Well, okay, there are 2 things. The first one, I agree with you. I think nobody understands how the fuck tyre works this year. And I mean, nobody. Even Pirelli doesn't know how they work. They released some statements, about how much tires were gonna last, each kind of tires, and it was nonsense. Having said that, this particular race was really strange. Ricciardo had problems with the engine. It was a race. I mean, it was run on a pace car. If you think that the qualifying was in the 10s, and Ricciardo was lapping in the 20s, 18, stuff like that. So probably one of the reasons why the tires last that much was that the pace was really high or low. I mean, the times were high, so you get what I mean. But yeah, I don't think nobody understands how the factor. Let me tell you one thing. I'm really glad that I've got Pirelli tires on my car. They have the fairly performing tires too. But I'm really happy I've got Pirelli tires on my car because they would probably outlast the car, So yeah, there is
not my experience with Pirelli tires, but then I only had them on my bikes. But then they were super sticky. So yeah, that's all good.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's the same technology as in F1, I'm golden. I'm super stoked.
Yeah. I mean, again, I felt it was really, it's just, I just felt that, the fact that there's such a difference in power performance and Seb couldn't even get close, right? It's not that the car, he was right off his jet backside trying to overtake. You know what I mean? The difference, and this was the crucial thing for me, is that as the race went on, of course, Zeb was wearing out his tyres being behind someone, but Ricciardo, of course, wasn't putting in the same amount of power through his tyres.
Well, right? I think that had most to do with the fact that it's fucking impossible to overtake in Monte Carlo. So, I mean,
sure,
we saw with Sainz and and Verstappen, when Verstappen was trying to pass. Oh, having said that, I got to say one thing before I forget. Sorry, on the overtaking thing, I want to congratulate from the bottom of my heart. I want to congratulate Hamilton for the amazing overtake that he made.
Did he?
Yeah, I mean, have you seen the?
Trying to think back now.
Well, he made an incredible overtake on Ocon. That was brilliant. I've never seen anything like that. You know, it was ridiculous. Ocon basically pulled over and let him pass.
I'm with you now. Right. Yes. Now I remember it. That's what I was going to say. I was thinking, was there a dramatic overtaking moment for Hamilton? No, I don't think there was. No, I can't remember him overtaking anybody. Not properly, anyway.
I was being an ass.
You know? Yeah. I mean, fair enough. You know what I mean? If you know, Ferrari have got 3 teams on the grid, I don't think it's
okay. If you can tell me in recent years where something like that has happened for Ferrari, I will give you 20 euros.
Well, I mean, thank you for the 20 euros.
Well, you got to cite me an episode, because I can't remember, for the sake of me, something like that.
Yeah, I'm going to cite one of the drivers in Red Bull, and I think it was Kvyat. Was it Kvyat? And I'm not certain which driver, but one of the drivers said it was written into his contract, not written as in literally, but it was heavily told to him that if a Red Bull came up behind you, to get out the way as quick as possible.
Red Bull and Toro Rosso have done that all the time. I agree with you. I'm talking about Ferrari.
Ah, right. Okay. So Ferrari ever done it? Yeah. Well, I don't think they've had the second team. Sauber, I suppose, has been their second team.
They've got Sauber, they've got Haas, you know?
Have never been in a position to be good enough, right? Whereas the Mercedes second teams are all midfield teams, you know.
Anyway, you know, if someone can remember an episode which is on par with that one, which was quite ridiculous, I will give them 20 euros.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it can be explained, though. I mean, I can give you a racing driver's excuse, right?
I mean, Ocon explained it really well. There was nothing to explain. I mean, it was in your face. Ocon said it, you know, yeah, they told me to let him pass. That's it. It's on the contract. I'm a Mercedes driver. It's on the contract, which is fucking ridiculous.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, he's driving for another team.
Yeah, but there's team orders, right? And if your team says, look, it's in our best interest to keep Mercedes in our good books, let him pass because you're not going to beat him anyway.
Yeah, well, in Monte Carlo, that's not a given.
It's definitely not a given.
And also, I mean, if you're there, I mean, I'm expecting cars there to fight for the positions.
Right.
Ocon wasn't lapped. He was fighting for the position. And I know that Hamilton had fresher tires. You know, it doesn't matter. But, you know, either they race or they pretend to race. That's what I'm saying. You know, I think that was really ridiculous. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying, and I guess it irks, but this is Formula One. And if Alpha were in the same position with a Ferrari behind, exactly the same thing would happen.
Oh, that has got to be shown. The first time it will happen, I will say that this is ridiculous. But the thing is, that hasn't happened. It hasn't happened with us last year. It hasn't happened with us this year. It hasn't happened with Sauber. So, I mean, you got to give it to me. If the same thing happened with a Ferrari, the English press would be on fucking fire.
I don't know about that. I mean, I think there's a certain degree of pragmatism about this.
I remember the word.
I would hope would sort of reign through in the end.
I remember an episode with Schumacher was involved, and there was I think it was a Sauber, and it was lapped, and he moved out of the way. I can't remember the names, but I figured them out eventually. I will send you the link.
Okay.
And the English press was fucking on fire because the lap guy got out of the way. So anyway, I think
there may have been circumstances there where he didn't let Mika Hakkinen through quite as easily, but nonetheless, I'm not certain either. Yeah, you know, I don't know. I know what you're saying, and obviously that's true. But this is the, you know, politic real of the situation in Formula One. So I would expect Sauber to get out of the way if they wanted Ferrari engines next year. The reason they didn't last year is because Ferrari gave them such a shit deal. And I do remember Sauber blocking Ferraris a few times, but it's because the Ferraris had just given them, you know, last year's engine, and they.
I mean, we'll see. And again, you know, I'm not saying
you're
saying
a customer,
that,
right? And you're paying through the nose, then you don't have to get out the way.
Yeah.
Right.
You
And
know,
obviously, you know, you can make deals, right? Like with the Toyota in Hamilton's on Hamilton's win.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That there was a Timo Glock went slow through the last corner in Brazil to allow Hamilton past.
Yeah.
Right? Now, clearly, you know, one of the tactics that I've heard them use is they'll send a message down going, "We'll give you like an extra, you know, 2/10 next year on car design if you let this happen," you know, and millions as well, right? We'll give you 5 million. You know what I mean?
I mean, I understand. You know, I'm just saying that it's really sad. And again, don't get me wrong. I don't care about Ferrari. I'm just pointing out, you know, that the behavior is ridiculous. You know, it would be the same thing. I would have said the same things if it was Toro Rosso and Red Bull, which they do. So I'm just pointing out that, you know, it's a race. People expect to see a race, and then those things happen. And this fucking idiot of a driver, you know, is asked and say, "Well, yeah, I'm a this and this, you know, under contract and this and this. Of course, it's going to happen." And there was a journalist which asked, "Okay, so are you saying that if you know, Mercedes had to give position to a Force India, that might happen too?" And he laughed. Of course, he laughed because he's a fucking idiot, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, I love Ocon. Fuck him.
Yeah. Okay. So we're at the stage now then of saying, you know, a fantastic drive for Ricciardo.
Yes.
No doubt about it. However, you know, again, I think that you know, we should just cross this race off because clearly the whole thing was spoiled from beginning to end, you know.
Yeah, no, that was a good race for Ricciardo and for his contract. I think he easily earned another 10 million next contract. Whoever brings him, you know. Actually, there is a funny thing that I was noticing. The first three on the championship, you know, Hamilton, Vettel, and Ricciardo, they have almost double the points of their teammates. Now, I mean, Hamilton's got a butler, and we understand. Kimi, I think is the second driver at this time. I mean, the points are so.
He hasn't turned up this year yet.
Yeah, but the funny thing is that the teammate of Ricciardo is Verstappen.
Yeah,
and he has half the points that Ricciardo has. And he is the guy with the contract, while the other one has got to make a contract. I think that was really, really interesting and funny.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, you know, as far as I can see, Ricciardo has usually outscored his teammates. Even if he has been slightly slower in either qualifying or race pace, depending on which circuit you're at. So, you know, I've always rated Ricciardo, though, because I remember Mark Webber completely, you know, just dominating in 1 year. He went from you know, a second rate, and then he suddenly learned a few things, and then he was the complete driver. He had everything. Yes. And if Ricciardo can do that and become, you know, a master qualifier like Webber was for a couple of seasons, then I can't see anything stopping him getting a championship. Yeah. Even if he's in the worst car.
Yeah, and you can also see that Verstappen is really frustrated right now. I mean, the mistake he made the mistake in FP3 when he had nothing to show, but just to make a quicker time than Ricciardo. And it was worth nothing because it was FP3. Still, it was pushing. There was no need to push at that time when he did that.
Yeah.
So I think he's really frustrated by the whole situation. And
well, again, I saw it as being inexperience in that he had traffic just before, right? The traffic pulled out of the way in a really strange place, and obviously that distracted his mind, and he'd never come across that situation at Monaco before. So, of course, he's going to lose concentration because he's not experienced enough, to go, oh, I know what happens next once I've taken my eye off the road at this point,
Yeah, but I mean, he is the wonder kid, So I don't know. It's really strange. It's really bizarre. In a way, is now the opposite of what Hamilton is and what actually Hamilton used to be up until 2 seasons ago. When Hamilton was under pressure, he was, more often than not, he kind of crumbled. He suffered the situation. While, for example, it's a thing that it hasn't happened last year, and especially this year. This year, Hamilton is driving a lot like Ricciardo is driving. It takes every possible points from the situation, even when the situation is not exactly in his favor. But yeah.
I think he realizes his car is not at the best at the moment, and any kind of points will do.
Yeah.
Right now.
But I got to give it to him. He grew a lot. from like 2 years ago when he was, fighting with Rosberg and things were not going exactly his way. I mean, you do remember. It was just.
Sure. Yeah, I kind of put that on Rosberg as, deciding to use a couple of tricks against Hamilton, right? And you're right. It's noticeable that in that season, he went from being someone who was quite fragile to actually going, oh, right, everybody's going to attack me no matter how good I am or what I say or what I do. So let's just get on and say what I think and get and keep driving the car. So
right. I mean, I just say that it takes 2 people, one playing the trick and the other one just falling for the trick.
Yeah.
And this
exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, so any other interesting things happened? Because I really got bored. I mean, fuck me. It was
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I like watching the cars at Monaco anyway, so I don't really have a huge issue with it, other than and it also, we don't have many really high downforce tracks anymore like this. Yeah. So, I quite like that change because it stretches the cars over a season. I mean, it used to be that more of the tracks were downforce heavy, right? And so you could get away with designing a car with high downforce in mind and have a good crack at the championship. Now, with so many long straights at the new tracks in order to encourage overtaking, that's actually changed the balance of the design of the cars now and put it more towards the chassis and engine than ever before. So, I'm a bit disappointed about that. I have been for a while. Some of the tracks, the Tilke tracks, are not up to scratch, really. So, but
we haven't said fuck Tilke in quite some time, and it's about time we say that. You're right.
I don't know if he did USA, but I do love that track.
I don't think it did. I don't know. I can't be sure.
Okay, well, it's a cracker.
There was some interesting things happening on the side of the race. There was a complaint which was raised against Ferrari, something to do about the batteries and things like that, and the FIA just cleared it out and said, well, there's nothing wrong with that. It was kind of weird because. As far as I read, they investigate the claim and they couldn't find anything wrong. But according to them, they said something on the lines that they didn't fully understand Ferrari explanation. They had some weird data that they couldn't figure out, how they were explaining that. Mm-hmm. But apparently, they also said, okay, we got to clear this out. You will put some more sensors on the car so that we can, take more data. But apparently, they I mean, they just gather enough data to say, okay, everything is fine. So that's cleared out, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, again, I guess it's a politics thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, they just gather enough.
Sorry, carry on.
No. I think something went through your feed, probably your YouTube channel.
Yeah. I was just checking the external chat to see what we've got going on. Yeah. So anyway, I think the race was pretty good. I didn't really have too much get me on the edge of my seat anyway. At least I'm so disappointed that the tires. I'm so disappointed in the tires this year. That's going to be the continued theme. But.
Is a very big word in Formula One.
And that's what Murray's got to say. So you never know what's going to happen at the next race.
Yeah. Next race is Canada, the 10th of June.
Yeah. It's a really good race. Really good race. One of the calendar highlights. Yes. It's not a great track for overtaking, I have to say. But at least it's got high tyre wear, and it's got the compromising setup that you have to go through because of the longer straights. So, yeah, I guess, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of points which are interesting. And, I mean, other than that, well, I'm sorry for Leclerc. I mean, Leclerc did a brilliant, piece of driving when his left disc exploded. It was really scary to watch, and it was really good. He tried to basically break the car against the walls.
Yeah, I mean the gap was small, but you know you got to hope you can get through it.
Right.
When you're out of control like that. Yeah. I mean, I feel really bad for Hartley because it's just the last thing he needed was a non-finish.
Well, yeah, it was unlucky. I mean, that was one of those things that you can't really. I mean, what the fuck are you gonna do? The guy, the brakes didn't work. They exploded. I mean, he had no choice than run into the guy. That was pure.
Yeah, I mean, I felt a bit funny afterwards when they said, he knew that his brakes were going and ... So I did feel a little bit like, maybe you could have, been a little more circumspect with them and maybe pulled the car in if they realised that the brakes were that far gone.
Around MONACO. No, they thought that they had something on the brakes. The thing is that, and you can see on the images, the disc exploded, literally. So, I mean, there is no way to predict that, You can predict brakes are, not really working well. So you basically brake a little bit sooner, but if your brake explodes, and you can see on the images, there was a puff of black smoke, and there was the right tire was locked and the other tire was just free.
Free rolling. Yeah. I mean, fair enough. It definitely was brake failure, but that's one of the things though about these cars, because they don't put brakes on, which is sufficient enough without the engine braking and the energy recovery systems. So this is another reason why I just go, oh yeah, energy recovery systems. They're rubbish, aren't they? If we didn't have them, then, these brake failures, which happen systematically, and I remember Haas having huge problems initially with their rear brakes, and when they fail, right, when the Energy UK fails, I just don't know. It's not great. How Ricardo drove, I've got no idea.
I mean, someone which didn't need brakes was Alonso. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. He was gung-ho, wasn't he, all weekend as well? Even in the practices, he was like, yeah, great, fuck it. Let's see if I can blow this motherfucker up.
He doesn't even talk on the radio anymore. I mean, his radio were brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
Now he's not even trying anymore, saying, fuck it.
Yeah, my favorite quote from him on the radio was GP2 amateurs.
Yes.
Oh, fucking Alonso, way to stick it to him.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be really frustrated.
Indeed.
So yeah, I mean, again, nothing. I can't think of anything interesting. There is a new guy in Sauber. Actually, that's quite cool. It's his name is Simone Resta, and he was the head of vehicle project coordination in Ferrari. He was sacked recently, I think the beginning of the year, and now he's working for Sauber. And yeah, I mean that's a good thing. I mean, he's a top-notch guy, and you know.
Why was he sacked then?
Oh, because there was another guy taking his job, stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's bound to help them, and I'm sure he comes with a few Ferrari secrets, which is going to help the Sauber next year.
Of course. Yeah.
As I would anticipate, it'll look very much like this year's Ferrari.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great. Again, disappointment, and looking forward to Canada. Really looking forward to Silverstone this year. That's going to be a fantastic race. In fact, all of the fast circuits are just going to be fantastic races. So,
and also, I mean, the championship is really interesting. We have 3 drivers. I mean, we have 3 cars. I don't think the Red Bull are on the same levels as Ferrari and Mercedes, but they might be the judge in some races. You know what I mean? So that is really interesting. It's also interesting the fact that compared to last year, where the Ferrari and the Mercedes were so different design wise that you could basically tell, okay, this car will go faster in the circuits because the shorter wheelbase and all that shit. The cars are way closer this year, even design wise. So it's really, really hard, to pick a winner or a favorite before the race.
I mean, I guess. I mean, the race is still fairly open, and that's a great thing. I hope Red Bull get some kind of more power to make that more interesting. Because I think if we're just racing Ferrari versus Mercedes again all year, I really think that's going to become a bit tedious.
Yeah, and that's another. I mean, the thing you just said is very interesting, because that's another reason why I am not so sure that Ricciardo will remain in Red Bull, or it will be in his best interest to remain in Red Bull, because one of the things that Red Bull is lacking next year so far is the bloody engine. So, I mean, if you are a driver that you're performing so well this year, you got to renew the contract. You want to go in a team where you have a solid project. And right now, I mean, you can't say that, Red Bull hasn't got a solid project. I mean, he's missing the bloody engine, from his car.
I mean, completely, I agree. I mean, the reason, as far as I'm concerned, he hasn't signed is because he would like to drive at Mercedes or Ferrari, and he doesn't care which. If they offer him a drive, he'll take it. So, and probably the right thing to do, of course. But you never know.
And it's funny because I don't think that either. Well, Sebastian made a comment to Joe, something like, well, it won't be me signing for Ricciardo, But I also don't think that Hamilton is going to be happy to have Ricciardo in his. I don't think none of them would be really happy to have Ricciardo.
Maybe that's why Hamilton hasn't signed yet. Who knows? Maybe he's saying, right, well, I'm not going to sign for you until you sign the second driver. But I thought they'd already signed Bottas. So,
so,
either way,
I mean,
that's
they
all
can
good.
also, Mercedes can sign Ricciardo on the Force India and, take a Mercedes and paint it like that, It's another Mercedes on the track, right? Con. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, well, I definitely see a few parts going their way. Let's put it that way, from Mercedes to Force India.
Yeah.
Because the Force India is not as fast, and it's not going to be a threat. it would be good for Mercedes to give them maybe, you know, 0.3 of a second.
Wow. Anyway.
Okay. Let's see what Murray's got to say.
I wish not to sound alarmist, but...
Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you for the viewer. And thank you to Fabio. Ciao. I look forward to seeing you next time.
Yeah.
And take care, everybody.
Okay. Ciao, ciao.